Hello, and welcome to my third part of my Halo series regarding the gameplay that was shown about a month and a half ago. Okay, so in my last two videos, I established my general thoughts about the game, and I talked about a few worrisome topics with Halo Infinite's crappy weapon designs. And now, to continue with the geek train, we're going to talk about Halo Infinite's open world. Let me just note that a good portion of this video will be based on my predictions/hopes of how I think an open world would work in a game like Halo. So yes, this might become kind of a wish list video. Additionally, this video script is the longest one, so in order to not pass the 20-minute mark, I'll have to show mostly gameplay and not my sexy self that you see before you. Anyway, let's get right to it. Okay, so Chief gets on a Warthog, he starts driving, it looks silky smooth, and he stops to open this bad boy. So from the little that we saw in the map, it definitely feels like Halo will follow an RPG kind of style. You got the tech map, upgrades, and database. For the tech map, there's not much that interests me. I mean, I'm not a big fan of how the Halo ring is divided into islands, and I feel it kinda makes the open world feel cheap. Like, it doesn't make you feel like you have a world to explore, but more like small scripted sections. For me, it takes away the illusion that it's a world with endless possibilities. 343 did say that as for the gameplay, most of the places you saw you could explore. Yeah, I don't think so. These Roblox columns are just giving me the message that they are not meant to be jumped over. I think they'll be just a lame replacement for invisible blockers. They also claim that there is indeed a way to get across those islands. If there is, I would love it. But unfortunately, I think that these circle things will work as teleporters/fast travel, so I don't think I could go all at once from one side of the map to the other. Of course, they claimed a lot more stuff about the oh so wonderful world, such as, this game is bigger than Halo 4 and 5 combined. Of course, it sounds very promising, but let me just remind you that these were the same guys that claimed Halo 5's campaign to also be bigger and practically better than any other Halo. So yes, I call bullshit. Very bullshit. Anyway, so there appears to be all sorts of secondary quests, all of which seem pretty cool. I mean, these are campaign related, but these guys? I love that this would be one of the many dungeons that are apart from the campaign and are also free to explore. As well as this thing right here. This looks like perhaps we'll get all sorts of targets, hopefully bosses, to kill. This could work similarly to how Shadow of Mordor did it, where you could basically become Boba Fett and go bounty hunting for a bunch of savages. Hopefully these targets are made to seem unique and not approached with a Warzone firefight method, where it's a normal elite with an impossible name to pronounce. I mean, Yulmedugma Jul Imduma? What? This would perhaps seem a little too much like Shadow of Mordor, but I think it would be cool if you got the name of the boss and a little phrase that sort of shows their character, like Tartarus the Ruthless, Atriox the Deceiver, or Warden Eternal, the guy you kill 1,000,000 fucking times and still comes back. You get what I'm saying. As for the upgrades, I have no idea. I don't exactly know what they could do with this. It sounds cool, but if you think about it, it can also be a bit worrisome. It's just that, say if you could upgrade Master Chief to have more health and better shields. How would speedruns/time records work if every player has different attributes and consequently makes any sense of competition unfair? For example, maybe you go bounty hunting for some dudes and buff up for the next mission. But what if a guy doesn't have time to go bounty hunt and just goes for the next mission? Clearly the first guy has a huge advantage. Also, how would game difficulty work? Say if you start a campaign on Legendary and from all the previous Halos, it's, as usual, really difficult. But if you started on Legendary, there's clearly going to be a period in which the difficulties you faced at the start of the campaign diminish because of all the upgrades you gain. So it's basically like you start on Legendary and from all the upgrades and stuff, it gets easier for you and you essentially end up on a close to heroic difficulty. I hope 343 really thought about this one. I don't think so, but for now let's just play like there couldn't be any problems coming from this and just play with the idea. So what would I like to see from the upgrades? First of all, I hope there's no armor customization tied to the upgrades. I wouldn't like the idea of being able to change Chief's iconic armor. I think I'd just like to see upgrades for, say, the grappling hook. Maybe you could increase responsiveness or length. Perhaps you could unlock abilities that enable you to grapple onto vehicles and even dismount them. There could be speed/jump boosts, or maybe an upgrade for ammo capacity. I don't know. I really don't see much that they could do. From what I've seen, this game is also compared to God of War, because it seems to be following several trends from it. So in regards to how God of War upgrades compare to Halo, I don't think Master Chief's ever going to get the ability to rage and launch giant boulders. As for the database, there's not much to say, except I hope it's what we're all thinking it is, which is that this could be Halo's version of the Bestiary from The Witcher 3, where you could see all the enemies, their info/backstory, and more importantly, their weaknesses/strengths. However, if I'm to compare Halo Infinite with God of War or The Witcher 3, I naturally have to mention the number of enemies, both of which have dozens upon dozens of enemies, but in the case of Halo, I don't think I can say the same thing. It's not that Halo doesn't have enough enemies, because it does, or at least it should. We don't know if the Prometheans are even in the game, but anywho. I know that having multiple enemies doesn't guarantee a good game, but at least it guarantees that the combat, for a good part, won't get stale. This is a problem I believe Halo Infinite could run into. I mean, how many times can we see a phantom or a spirit come in and drop a small squadron of grunts, elites, brutes, and sometimes hunters? Of course, there are other enemy types like the Forerunners or Flood, but like I said, we ain't know nothing about them being in the game. I think they will be in the game, but maybe the Flood will come in a later expansion or something? This would greatly help the game in the long run. However, as usual, this brings yet another kick in the nuts for OG players because, well, as of now, Halo Infinite is rated teen. This doesn't bother me too much since Halo 5 was also teen, and there was barely a difference. But then again, Halo 5 didn't have Flood. And much like Hidden Xperia said, Flood in a rated teen game? But you know, it's better than nothing. Hopefully we get enough wildlife to refer to as a separate faction. Going further into the Forerunner and Flood, I really hope they go all out with them. For example, in the case of the Forerunners, I hope they continue with the Promethean Armada. I would think that they obviously would be in the game because they're 343's baby, but anything could happen. I mean, we are actually getting a Halo game with classic art style, an aspect every Halo fan wanted to see, but no one actually expected to happen. But here we are. I understand the Prometheans weren't all that exciting to fight before, but I really like them. I feel they have so much untapped potential. Just imagine the kinds of awesome vehicles we could get. Hopefully they don't pull a Halo 5 and just give us one Forerunner vehicle. But yeah, it would be awesome to have a drivable one of those things from Halo 2. And I almost forgot, if you look up all the kinds of stuff they had brewing up in terms of concept for Halo 5, my god, they were going to make the Prometheans such an awesome faction. You had these almost modular vehicles, most notably a kind of tank that could switch turrets or something weird. But even more so, they had this wolf guy who seemed to be a pack leader. It would be awesome to have a mini boss like this guy in Infinite. Maybe he could spawn a bunch of crawlers that sort of acted like his lifeline, or maybe he is a bunch of crawlers put together, and maybe you just be walking and come across a pack of crawlers, and knowing that if too many of those guys attached to each other, they would create a boss, the player would have a sense of urgency to kill as many crawlers and avoid from letting them come together. Anyway, you could really see how cool the Promethean guys could be with how they made the knights in Halo 5, where as you shot them, their armor shells would drop off, and when that happened, the knight would expose their inner skull for a brief moment, and if the player managed to shoot it while exposed, it would be an instant kill. Just imagine if they applied something similar to all the enemy kinds in the Forerunner army. Another cool idea is if the Prometheans acted as a kind of organic faction. Like, they would come together from scraps or stuff like that. Think of it like Bumblebee from Transformers 5, where he's a bunch of small pieces and comes together in a magnet-like fashion. Wouldn't it be cool if the Prometheans worked like that and they formed right before your eyes? I'd be like, what in the hell is happening? Holy shit! As for the Flood, what I'd like to see is just for them to basically behave like the ones from Halo 3. It would also be nice to have all the kinds of Flood forms from Halo 3 and build from that. It would especially be nice to see the new Flood forms from Halo Wars 2. You know, the ninja with tentacles? Yeah, That one. I would also love the Prometheans to somehow be able to turn into Flood. Just imagine a knight turning into a heavy-duty carrier, but also it would launch out a flying Flood form like the Watcher. Plus for the weapons, I would love if they would have a feature where the weapons become corrupted. Say, with the incineration cannon, after it shot and exploded, it would be cool if they left a small poison field on the ground that could damage the player for a limited time. Guns that work like that could add so much variety to Halo's sandbox. Could you imagine creating a puddle of poison that surrounds your flag in CTF? Endless possibilities. One other aspect that open worlds tend to have is a large variety of biomes, which of course I'd love to see in Halo Infinite. However, I'm a bit worried from what we've seen. I don't know why, but whenever they show a Halo ring, they make it look like it's only composed of 2 biomes, plains with pine trees and snowy mountains. Those of course are awesome biomes, but what about the rest? Seriously, in the reveal they showed a bunch of biomes, but in all the rest of the marketing, ain't shit there! I mean, where are the deserts? Where are the savannas or swamps? Where be them cliffs with oceans? I'm really crossing my fingers for the grass and pine trees to not be the only feckin' vegetation we see. But even further, if all the biomes I mentioned are in the game, I would still have one more problem. The Halo ring was created by the Forerunners, so essentially aliens. The Halo ring is located in space, and the Halo series is a sci-fi genre. So my question is, why does Halo ring gotta look like Earth? You literally have a subject matter with infinite possibilities. Alien shit. So why do these here trees have to look like Earth's? Why not make them purple? Why not make the grass blue? Of course, I'm not talking about making a double rainbow out of a Halo ring, but just for some unique biomes, go crazy, go stupid! I'm sorry. God, I suck. So basically, I want to see biomes that really bring a sense of awe to the audience, not a biome I could find when I step outside my front door.
Whoa, guys, look, we're in Halo. Look, we even have wildlife. Look at these majestic beasts. Whoa!
Perhaps you can introduce a biome similar to that of Halo 4's Abandon, or maybe a canyon-filled biome like an Outcast. And don't be coming round the comment sections going like,
Captain Kaiser, the Forerunners made the Halo because it's canon!
All I'm saying is that if there were a biome similar to that of Halo 2's Anniversary, Warlord, or Remnant, I don't think anyone would be against it. And that includes you, Mr. Halo's Canon. Apart from this, 343 did say that Halo Infinite would have a full day and night cycle, which gets me extremely excited for the potential, but extremely worried for the result. One of the things I'd love to see is a sort of completely new look for the ring whenever it's night. This is very much an overshot, but something like Avatar, the blue one, is what I'd like to see. Where in the daytime, it's normal sunshine, green everywhere, but at night, the entire environment changes. Of course, I don't want to see Halo go all laser tag on the ring, but perhaps a subtle glow to the trees and maybe grass would be nice. Think of how Combat Evolved had those odd trees with the green glow. Something like this would be so beautiful. But of course, with such beauty, there must also be a darker side. This of course being that perhaps at night, wildlife really tips towards the hostile side. For example, maybe during the day, pretty butterflies and these rat things come out. But at night, when most of the banished armada is dormant, the real beasts take over the land. Maybe the ring could have something like the Goudas from Halo Reach, or maybe tiger-like beasts. I don't know. It's an idea with endless possibilities. Additionally, there would of course have to be a different kind of music. Maybe for those calm moments, the player could be left off with a soothing melody and even some moments with pure silence, where the player gets to really take in all the surrounding noises. At this point, I'll just be talking about what I thought the Halo open world would be like. Most of what I'm about to say can be immediately cancelled, but there are some things that still could happen. First of all, I thought the open world Halo ring part would be an online portion of the game, not a part of the campaign, though I can see why they chose to implement this aspect into the campaign. But here are a couple things that might have been cooler if it were in multiplayer. For example, I thought the Halo ring would act like a server, similarly to Elder Scrolls Online, where it would still have RPG elements, but you could experience the Halo ring with others rather than only by yourself. I thought it'd be awesome if you could use your matchmaking Spartan in the open world and be able to show off your armor in a whole nother way. I was thinking maybe they could make the Infinity a central hub where you could just goof off, but frankly, from the gameplay trailer, yeah, I think the Infinity ain't even there no more. Moving on, I imagined a bunch of Spartans getting together to defeat, say, a Scarab, or maybe a bunch of Spartans going into a flood-infested dungeon. Additionally, I think it would have been awesome if a small but meaningful portion of the Spartan armor system would be tied to the Halo ring. Not to make it like Minecraft or anything, but say that to craft an uber legendary piece of armor, you had to gather materials for it. Not that you would go and beat up a tree with your bare hands, but maybe you had to defeat a certain boss or raid an enemy base. Even better, for the targeting system, maybe the legendary bounties have ultra rare materials, or even better, a certain armor piece that you would win if you completed a certain bounty. This way, when a player saw that another player had a legendary armor piece, they would immediately know all the hassle they had to go through in order to get it. On another note, a problem that comes from the Halo experience being attached to the campaign is that certain missions, maybe all missions, would be connected to the experience. And you can see this from the demo that we saw. It's not like you could jump straight into a mission like in the previous games. In this one, you have to travel to the mission and maybe even have to level up in order to unlock it. This seems like it's going to unfortunately be the case, and we've already seen a game that did this before, and it wasn't all that exciting. It would suck to think that a player would be negated to continue with the campaign because he refused to grind his ass off to reach a certain level.
Sometimes I just want to jump straight into a mission and kick some alien ass.
As for how I thought the weapon system would work, I thought they would follow a Destiny kind of system where you have a type of gun, say a pulse rifle or an automatic rifle, and you would have a standard design for them that changes a bit with every weapon. And then if you got a legendary gun of the kind, it would have a completely unique design. If you don't play Destiny, this might be a bit confusing. And maybe if you do play Destiny, this might also be confusing because I can't explain shit. So let me just put it this way. If Halo would follow this, it would be perfect because, coincidentally, Halo already has a system that could fit perfectly with this one. So if you think about most of the Halo weapons, you'll find that they have very generic names. For example, you have the assault rifle, shotgun, sniper, etc, etc. And you probably thought of the actual weapons when I said the names, but the way I see it, I not only think of the weapon, but of the class system they could have. So rather than think of the assault rifle as a weapon, let's think of it as a kind of weapon. And from any poster or gameplay, one can see that Master Chief is holding the Halo Reach assault rifle. Perhaps this would be the first weapon variant you would start off with. After all, it's an automatic rifle, so friendlier to the new players. So you would start with the Halo Reach assault rifle, and as you progress through the campaign, you would encounter other kinds of assault rifles, and even further, other kinds of weapon classes like the battle rifle or shotgun. If you don't know where I'm getting at, Halo Infinite would have all the versions of the essential weapons from the previous Halo games. I know that sounds like a bit of a stretch, but it would really work, and even more, Halo fans would drool by this. Just think how cool it would be to be able to choose and use your favorite version of the battle rifle. Say one guy likes the Halo 3, or another one like me liked Halo 5. Both could find those weapons and use them to their own liking. Just think if for one mission you get a scene where someone says, "It's time to upgrade," and they give you the classic Magnum instead of this piece of crap. Wouldn't that be awesome? As for the legendary versions of weapons, like I said, Halo already had something like Destiny, although not as cool, and basically, just with the names. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's Halo 5's Rex system, where the second and third tier of the weapons had unique names, some of which were absolutely incredible.
Appetite for Destruction, Talon of the Lost, Pool of Radiance.
I mean, come on, how badass would it be to complete a legendary ultra difficult quest and earn a gun called Scourge of Fire? Just imagine playing multiplayer and reading, "You were killed with a Scourge of Fire." I really thought they would do something like this, but they did say that there would be no permanent loadouts or something like that, so I guess there's no point in completing an impossible quest for a gun you only have 8 shots with. As for the enemies I'd love to see, basically anything from Halo Wars 2. In fact, put all day shit into Halo Infinite. Of course that's not possible, so if I had to pick a handful of enemies I'd love to see introduced, here's what they would be. The first of which would be any kind of brute warlord or Atriox Chosen. Yeah, nothing too complex, but basically I want to see brute units that actually fall into the boss category. Of course we had the brute chieftains in Halos before, however, I never saw them as a hell nah, best prepare for this one kind of enemy. So yes, a real tank of a brute is what I want to see. And these guys could be the ones with the Lord of the Rings names. Like this guy here, Icarus the Merciless. Some concept art was released with this guy, which, my god, please be in the game. Please be in game. This guy could serve as an elite version of the Atriox Chosen and shit. He could be called something like El Kazuma, the holy shit, he has a red lightsaber! Next, I would love to see the Forerunner Retriever Sentinel. Yeah, just something real big for the Forerunner class. And finally, if there was just one unit, or units, that I would love to see introduced into Halo Infinite, they would be anything from the Colony update. If you don't know what this update is, it was glory in a bottle. In an update. An update that could never have been anticipated. This of course being the Hunter update. Oh yeah, baby. Finally, we get to see other kinds of forms them worms could make, and my Jehovah, they can create some badass enemies. Apart from the normal hunters, we first get introduced to the feckin' legend himself, the Hunter Captain. Oh my god! If you thought them hunters were difficult, give this one a try, because unlike the normal hunters where you can easily get behind them and squirt a few bullets into their backs, this one, my good sirs, has no weak point. Everything is covered with armor, so you can't pull the old distract them while I sneak behind them and pop a few. Nope, ain't nothing bringing this guy down. But wait, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we get the best one yet, the Hunter Gorilla. That's not its name, but it's basically that. Just by the name, this guy sends shivers, cause he's called the Goliath, an absolute beast that is unlike any Halo enemy we've seen before, where instead of shooting just like the normal hunters and captains, this boy charges, and boy does he charge. Additionally, he has these arc reactor things that make his Hulk smashes create excruciating impacts to the ground that harms anything in close range. Goliath? Yeah, better call David for this one.
Fear not, my brothers! Goliath, I've come to take your ass down!
What a better way to end the video with me half naked. This was sudden, but that's about all I have to say about Halo's open world. If I think of anything else, I'll be sure to put it in one of my next videos. But as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave your thoughts about my thoughts in the comment section below. And if you liked what you saw, perhaps do just that. And, okay, hear me out. I know this is a lot to ask. I know, and I hate asking this. Would it be possible to reach 1 subscribers for this video? I know it's a lot to ask, but a man can dream. Anyway, I was just leaving. So goodbye forever. Until the next video in like 2 weeks. Skrrr!